Alright, so while we have this downtime, let's talk about armored vehicles. The question has been raised, how do we handle armored vehicles in a situation where we do not have any kind of real high frequency explosives to work with, i.e. C4 Comp B, Semtex, things of that nature. So how do we take out an armored vehicle when we're dealing with a situation where we don't really have explosives to work with? Well, let's think about it for a second. What is the difference between a normal vehicle, a truck for an example, a pickup, and a MRAP? What's the difference between the two? Better yet, what's the difference between a standard Humvee and an up-armored Humvee? The weight. What? Exactly. Exactly. It's the weight. The weight is just totally drastically different. A standard Humvee weighs about anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 pounds, depending upon how much equipment you have on it, whether it's soft skin or metal doors. An up-armored Humvee weighs 14,000 pounds. That's part of the reason why they're having problems with the motors, the transmissions, and the suspensions, is because the truck was never designed to handle that kind of weight. It was designed to handle at maximum 5,000 pounds, and yet they've tagged on another 10,000 pounds on top of that in body armor, right? So just like with the MRAPs, just like with tanks or Bradleys or anything else, we have a problem with the weight. I mean, you look at it, a Bradley weighs 65,000 pounds. Imagine that for a second, 65,000 pounds. Well, no damn wonder we can hear them coming 3 miles away. They're freaking loud. And on top of that, they're on a track and they got that old big diesel whining motor. So armored vehicles, you're going to know they're coming. And the other thing is they are actually limited into where they can go. I know a lot of people think, well, it's a track vehicle that can go anywhere. Not necessarily. Yeah, it can plow over a small tree, but I mean, hell, I can do that in a deuce and a half. But they are still somewhat limited. Now, we talked about trying to disable the tracks, take the tracks out by placing a log in there in between the tracks and the road wheel and popping off that track so that you can demobilize the vehicle. Exactly do that with an MRAP, an MRAP, right? Or even a Humvee. Well, yeah, exactly. It's got actual wheels. But what can we do to stop those? No, close though. Yeah, now you're starting to think. You're going to dig a hole, right? So let's think about it. It's the height of a vehicle for a Humvee tire is a 37-inch tall tire. So 36 inches is 3 feet, right? Well, that means that the freaking belly of that vehicle to the ground is half that distance, so 1.5 feet. So the clearance of that vehicle is approximately 1.5 feet to 2 feet. So if you dig a hole that's 3 feet deep and about 10 feet wide, what's going to happen? He's going to boom right into that thing, crash right in the other side of that hole, and it's done. He's there. He ain't getting out of it because he's completely bottomed out. Same thing with an MRAP. You got an MRAP coming down the road, and it's what, a 48-inch tire? I think it's, yes, a 48 to 54-inch tire. Either which way you dig a 4-foot deep hole, you're going to cover it. So again, a 4-foot deep hole, approximately 10 feet long, just to give yourself enough room for that. In the event that they're moving fast, they won't pop out of it. They come in and they hit that thing, you want that front bumper to dig in, and that's exactly what's going to happen. That vehicle's going to come in, bottom out, and the front bumper's going to wedge right in. Bam, they're done. Case in point, I had a buddy of mine, Sergeant Parker. We were sitting around BSing at the Armory one day, telling old war stories to the new Joes, right? And you know, we're thinking I'm doing pretty good, and then here's Parker sitting real quiet in the corner, which is proof positive the guy that sits real quiet in the corner is actually the baddest mofo in the room. But he's sitting there, he's like, yeah, I watched 3 boys die in a Bradley once. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Got hit with an IED, some gun caught on fire, and all I heard was them screaming before they finally stopped. We could never get them out, it was just too damn hot. It's like, holy freaking crap, dude. I mean, wow. I mean, I've never had anything like that. But the other thing he told us, which is what I'm trying to get to, is that he said we had a Bradley, or an Abrams, we were escorting tanks, and the driver was new, and he fell asleep going down the road, and he took the tank and drove right into a ditch and stuck the gun barrel, the main gun, into the dirt on the other side of the ditch. Problem was the ditch was full of water. Now, if you know anything about Abrams, you have to traverse the turret backwards in order to open the driver's hole. So they couldn't traverse the turret, they couldn't get him out, he couldn't back out because it was too deep, because the ditch was about 10 feet deep and it was about 10 feet wide. And he went right down and hit it and just buried that gun barrel into the ditch bank on the other side, and he couldn't go anywhere. The kid drowned to death inside the Abrams. First day on the job, first mission, first time out the wire, and he drowns to death in an Abrams because he fell asleep behind the wheel. So the point I'm making is holes suck for armor, okay? That's how you're going to immobilize them. Dig a freaking big hole and then cover it up with some sticks and put some leaves over it, or just, even leave the roadway surface intact. Just dig out underneath it, wallow that baby out, and just line it with 2x4s to hold the asphalt in place or whatever. Because they're not going to see it moving that fast, and they're going to hit that thing boom, right into it, especially if they're receiving contact from you. If they're receiving contact from you, even small arms fire, they're going to be, oh, I'm in armor, right? Because that's what we think, oh, we're in armor, we're invincible, right? Right, yeah, unless you're riding in a Bradley, exactly. So unless you're in a Bradley, you're thinking you're invincible. So you're going to be charging in because you're like, I've got the freaking big gun, I've got the advantage, and then boom, you fall right into the trap. Another story to tell you this happened in Iraq to our Alpha troop. Alpha had a patrol go out in Mosul when we were there in Iraq, my first hitch. Guy came out, sprayed an AK, a couple of rounds of an AK at him, and ran down an alleyway. And they had pushed a dumpster to the side there, kind of making it so that the Bradley had to hit the dumpster. Now what we didn't know, what they didn't know, is that the dumpster was full of 155 rounds. And it was a booby trap of epic proportions. That Bradley, instinctively they chased him down the alleyway. Well, the Bradley couldn't maneuver left, couldn't maneuver right, and all they see is a dumpster. And they're like, it's just a dumpster. Hit it! BC Bradley commander tells him to nail that thing with everything he's got. Driver puts the thing to the floor. They're still pursuing this guy. They hit that thing. Boom! Killed all three of them. Overpressure. Took them right out. So, as you can see, armor's actually not that hard to defeat. And the armor's going to have weak points. You just got to find them. You got to study those armored vehicles, especially those enemy armored vehicles. If you study your own, you'll know those for, hey, if you ever find yourself in the hole and the enemy's got you there, you're going to be like, okay, well, I need to watch this point, because these are weak points of my vehicle. But the other thing is that if you study your enemy's vehicle and their armored vehicle, you're going to know that, okay, there's weak points here, there's weak points there. I can attack these points and manipulate them. All I have to do is get a grenade in there. If I can get a grenade or a gun barrel in there and start spraying rounds around, in there, well, it's armor, man. The rounds are going to bounce everywhere in there. Have you ever watched Indiana Jones? Then they were fighting the big tank. There's bullets bouncing everywhere inside that tank, right? Because that's really how it happens. It's freaking armor on the inside too, guys. So the bullets are going to bounce everywhere in there. You chuck a grenade in there, and guess what? You just overpressurize it. It's the exact same thing as putting a shape charge on a bunker. It's going to overpressurize. Now, which is how they were trying to kill Hitler during Operation Valkyrie, but another story for another day. One other thing I want to point out with armor. It is metal. A big metal box. How many of you guys have sat in a vehicle in the summer directly in the sun going, God almighty? Yeah, about every dang one of you, right? They don't have that motor to run the air conditioner or the heat, and they can't charge the batteries, and they can't get signal out because you've taken the antennas off the vehicle, and that vehicle's now been totally demobilized, and you've destroyed it all. In the middle of the heat, dead winter, it's going to get balls cold in there, or it's going to get balls hot in there, and these guys are going to want out. Even if the claustrophobia is going to start setting in. You can have, if you can keep those guys there for 24, 48 hours, even maybe 72, they might last 72 hours. Eventually they're going to come to the realization that we have no choice. We're either going to die in here or we're going to die out there. At least I get to take one last breath of oxygen before I kick the bucket. Right? They're going to eventually want to come out. They're going to eventually be like, I just can't take this any longer. And they're going to want to get out, especially if it's hot and they're becoming dehydrated rapidly. You may find them passed out in there. Who knows? So use Mother Nature's elements to your advantage. If you're going to attack that track, or you're going to attack that armored vehicle, try to do it in such a position, in such a place that they cannot, that if you get them stuck there and it becomes a siege, they're going to lose the siege because of the heat and the cold or whatever the situation may be, or the water. For an example, if you got a bridge and you take out that bridge and just weaken the structure of the bridge, just weaken the support columns of the bridge, and that truck comes coming across it and it collapses the bridge and now he's in water, how fast do you think they're going to pop the hatches on that thing to get out of there? I mean, hell, I would. I'm about, screw this, I'll take my dang chances out there. Maybe I won't get hit, maybe it won't be bad. I'll take my chances. Get me the hell out of this thing because I'm going to drown to death in it. So, you know, if you drop them in a body of water, they're definitely coming out of it quick. Right, exactly. Just like the guy in the tank. Just like the kid that drowned to death in the tank. What do you think was going through his mind those last few seconds of as the water's filling inside the driver hole in there? He's freaking out. He's wasting oxygen. His heart's beating 1,000 times a minute. He wants the hell out. He's screaming, which is what I understood from Sergeant Parker. The kid was screaming, and they didn't hear the screams anymore. They heard him, and that was it. So when they got it out, which took them bringing in another vehicle to pull it out, hours before it ever happened, he was long dead. So it is the way it is, but that's why armored vehicles are actually not that great. Don't freak out if you've got yourselves coming across an armored vehicle. Use your head, think outside the box, slow things down, and you'll be just fine. All right? Let's move on.